Hey everyone, welcome back to Trade Talk, the collected comic book review show. I'm your host Niko, and thank you to everyone who's actually checked this show out. If you have listened to it or have any feedback on this show, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, maybe something you'd like me more to focus on, maybe some other things you may want me to read and talk about. Feel free to drop a comment on the SoundCloud page on the website or any of my social media outlets on Facebook, in the comic groups that I post this in. Anything like that, wherever you're listening to this show, let me know if you have been listening. I get it. Sometimes, we get the listeners, people do check in and listen to it, and they're so busy in their everyday lives, they don't actually, take the chance to follow up on anything or actually let the people know that do these shows. Sometimes I'm guilty of it myself. I listen to lots of podcasts and I don't interact with the host, right? So, if not, that's cool. But, I definitely do appreciate it. If anybody is listening to this, please let me know and let me know what you think. So, thanks for checking in again week to week and listen to me babble about some different books every week. I know it's been really helpful for me. So much so that I'm actually maybe in the future now going to think of some more themed kind of reads to do for these episodes. Similar to the one like where I read all manga, like things like that. Maybe some similar themes, maybe some series, some highlights, some things like that. And also I'm kind of setting up some reading challenges for myself right now, going through my library and getting stacks together for maybe to read over the next few months and trying to get through some of the stuff that I have on my shelves that's been unread up to this point. So yeah, this show has also been helpful for me in that sense. And if you have my problem where you're buying too much stuff and you're not reading enough, let me know. A lot of us do share that issue. There's too many good things out there. What can we say? Okay, so no, without further ado, enough from me. Just here, let's get into the books. All right, first off, we got. I'm just going to quickly touch on. I got 4 different titles I wanted to talk to you guys about today. First off, just to follow up on my Kelly Thompson love, me gushing about like a lot of her different books that I've never actually read previously in last episode. I did pick up the second volume of her Jessica Jones digital first comic that's collected in 2 trade paperbacks. This one's Purple Daughter, and this collects the I think the next 6 issues in this collection that were like the next storyline after the Blind Spot one, where in this one it's, I mean, obviously from the title you can tell if you know anything about Jessica Jones, this one focuses on the Purple Man. And essentially, the Purple Man, so one day her daughter just turns purple, and she doesn't know what's real. She doesn't know what's fake anymore. She doesn't know how he's somehow infiltrated her life once again, as he tends to do. 5 of the 6 issues, or 6 chapters in this, were drawn by the same artist as last time. Again, I don't know how to say this guy's name, or woman. I'm not sure. Deiulis, D. Lewis. Again, if I'm butchering your name, I apologize. That is a hard one, and I've seen a lot of difficult names in comics sometimes to pronounce. And Mattia D. Lewis, yeah, that's his name. And then Felipe Andrade, he drew chapter 5 of this volume, which is a much different style than the regular artist of this Jessica Jones story. I do prefer his art over Felipe Andrade's art, and I'm a big fan of Andrade, so much I actually own a page of original art that he did for this Wolverine Old Man Logan story with the like the Marvel monster characters that Jeff Lemire wrote. So I like his stuff. It's very loose, very cartoony, very different than what you would expect in this book, and I think it was used well because she was in some sort of like dreaming kind of state at this point in the story. So like I understand, even the switch up, or why maybe they were going for a different, less realistic looking style, because like the main artist of the book's style is just that, and it's very photorealistic-y, but not in a bad way. Some artists like that, I don't love their art because they're not very stylistic. They're not stylistic enough for my taste. But I think he does a great job, this artist. And yeah, this was just more fun. I mean, this is a darker story, I think, than the first one was, although it did tend to find a lot of fun things to do as well. And It involves a whole bunch of the Purple family. It's not just the Purple Man. It's his daughter, his illegitimate children that you saw during Mark Waid's Daredevil run show up in this. The Purple Kids. Apparently, he's got a son that is not so purple. So yeah, you learn all about that in this. I mean, not to spoil too much about it, other than the fact that I did mention some of the the people involved here that may have spoiled some aspects of this story. It is a mystery, so I'll leave the rest to you to check out. Hell of a lot of fun. Also, the White Queen, Emma Frost, or I guess in this one she's called the Black King. I guess as she changed in the X-Men comics at this time into that persona. She was in this. Also kind of like an awesome, very witty dialogue to team up between those two characters, similar to kind of how Elsa Bloodstone was in the first one. She basically filled that role in this second one. And yeah, just a lot of women kicking ass, and I really had a lot of fun with this. I can't recommend this series enough. Jessica Jones by Kelly Thompson. There's 2 trade paperbacks, Blind Spot and Purple Daughter, both excellent. And then also finishing up the Hawkeye love for Kelly Thompson. I also read Volume 3, which wrapped up the series. It was 16 issues, all said and done. This one also this one collected issues 13 to 16 plus the Generations one shot Hawkeye and Hawkeye, which showed Kate Bishop teaming up with male Hawkeye Clint, and basically that's actually what the rest of the issues in this volume were as well. There was that little Generations kind of event that they did a bunch of one shots with the kind of like the mentor mentee, kind of like the new generation and old generation of a bunch of different heroes. Like you had the Miles Morales Spider-Man and Peter Parker Spider-Man, Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel. Like they did a bunch of these across the line at that time in Marvel. So they kind of threw this in here. Kelly Thompson also wrote it. But it just worked well for this volume because this whole arc at the end of the last issue 12, in the last trade paperback, Clint showed up to Kate for help. And this basically just continued their little adventures as they kind of go on this like escapade of them versus Madame Mask amongst other people. You get to know some people within Kate's family as well as her past and her relation to some of these people that are potential bad guys that are after her in this story, and Clint as well. So again, you get lots of great dialogue between these two characters. Leonardo Romero, the artist, did a great job as always. I mean, other than Michael Walsh stepping in for 2 or 3 issues during this whole run of 16 issues, he basically drew it the whole series, and I'm a big fan of his art now as well as a result of this series. And yeah, this is again just a lot of fun. Great dialogue, great art, great character. Yeah, definitely check this out, guys. I mean, I don't want to. If you are a regular listener, I did talk about the previous 2 volumes in the last couple episodes of this series as well. I was just really late to the party on reading this one, so really happy that I did check it out. All right, next up we got Assassination. Very cool play on words for a title. It's assassin, like the word assassin, and then nation. And basically, the reason it's called that is because at the start of this, there's a great setup of the world's 20 best hitmen coming together to protect somebody that used to be the #1 hitman. And so as soon as you open up the trade paperback, this collects the first 5 issues of this series. I don't know whether or not they're coming back to this series or not. I haven't heard anything about it. This is written by Kyle Starks, art by Erica Henderson, whose art I know mainly from Squirrel Girl over at Marvel Comics. And then Kyle Starks, he wrote the Mars Attacks book from Dynamite, I most recently read by him that I talked about on this channel, one of my earlier episodes of Trade Talk. And he also did Rock Candy Mountain through Image Comics and a couple of other kind of books that he wrote. I think some he's illustrated as well through Image Comics. He's a very funny guy. He writes mostly comedy type books with including this one, and some of his other stuff is mostly action based, like more action based, like almost like 80s movie action style type scenarios, but with very funny characters and dialogue, and it's nice. It's very refreshing to see people that are good at that, because it's so hard to find not only good comedy books on the stands or funny comics on the stands, but for them to actually also be funny and actually be good stories. Like, it's a very hard mix that not many people are good at, I would say. Yeah, there's people that are great at some witty dialogue and stuff like that and can be funny. Like I said, I just talked about the two Kelly Thompson books previous to this, but this guy, like, you know, a lot of his ideas and books are centered around very funny characters and ideas in themselves. So it's very rare to find something like that clicks. Like, Garth Ennis, for me, was very funny, a lot of his books, but they're more of a dark humor, a lot of his titles. So if you're not really into that, if you want something a little bit more lighthearted, yet, you know, amidst the more of an action-packed storyline, then Kyle Stark's books, you should definitely check them out. I'm slowly becoming a fan. I've liked some of the stuff I've read by him. And this book is through Image Comics, and it is volume 1, so plus the way it ends, I hope that they do some more stuff with this title. I definitely really enjoyed reading this. And Erica Henderson did a great job. She's a good artist. I never really read many of the books that she had read. Drew. I did read a little bit of Squirrel Girl, but it didn't really stick with it. So, and I know that she was the main artist on that book for quite a while. Last few years, probably, I would say. And then she also did some Archie stuff. That stuff I saw. I read the Archie issues I think she drew. Or was it Jughead that she also drew? Yeah, I don't know if I read so much of that. If she drew in some of the Archie issues that Mark Waid did, I definitely saw those. But yeah, she's a good artist. I really enjoyed her work on this. I thought she did a great job. And there's so many different fucking characters in this. So just the fact that she actually drew this many different kind of looking characters in itself is a challenge. And in the first page, when you open up the trade paperback on the side, just past the cover there, you see a list of the 20 top assassins rankings worldwide. And you also get the names of them, the picture, as well as their current ranking, and then it'll let you know whether or not they've moved up or down recently through the ranking. So, like, for example, and I mean, you got all these awesome, stupid, like, action movie type names of these people in here as well, or just like names that are cheesy and trying to sound cool. Like, this number 3 right now is Niles Roosevelt Axelrod. And then you got, like, right above his name, there's like a 4 that's green and showing an up arrow to let you know that he moved up from position 4 to number 3 in the top 20 rankings. And then you got, like, for example, you got some guy called Desert Regal, who used to be number 3, and now above his name you see it's red, and it's got like a down pointing arrow to let you know that he got bumped down from 3 to 7 as a result of maybe who the hell knows. But it's just really funny and interesting and a fun way to introduce this book with the top 20 ranking of guys there. And then it kind of just jumps into it. You basically find out that there's a guy who the guy who hired the 20 best assassins in the world to be his bodyguards is afraid that there's a mystery going on, that there is somebody trying to kill him. So he figures, hey, I know a lot of different assassins around the world. Let me just hire all of them to protect me, because who's better to do this job to bodyguard me than an assassin themselves? So, and he used to also be an assassin. He used to be the number 1 assassin in the world at one point in his life, but now he's moved on in his other endeavors and is like a successful businessman, and he has a lot of enemies because of his past dealings and the result that he was the number 1 assassin at some point. So yeah, he hires these guys and to protect him, and then the mystery just goes from there, of them trying to figure out who is trying to kill him as they try to survive themselves as well as protect this guy. And as the story goes on, some other things are to be revealed. And it's just a fun little story with, very funny. There's a character in here called Fuck Tarkington, who's my favorite character in the book. Just a really endearing, fun-loving guy, but they're all killers. But he never, but there's not really. You got like a lot of mean-spirited asshole killers in this, but then you got a couple of these guys that you could actually see yourselves being pals with. They just happen to be also hitmen. So he's definitely one of them. The fact that his name's Fuck Tarkington is awesome, though. Like, listen to some of these names: David Bowie Knife, Meat Stick. Some very fun names here. Yeah, I as you can tell, I really enjoyed this book, and Erica Henderson's cartooning was great. And and yeah, and then within like the first issue, I think it was the first issue or two, like this top 20 ranking goes right down. So between the people that are attacking the guy who hired all of them, as well as all these egos in the same room together, it can be quite complicated for them, as you can tell. So yeah, definitely check this out, Assassination. And it's $14.99 retail US price. So yeah, it's not a big commitment, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. So check it out. And last but not least, we have Sheltered. I read all 3 volumes of the series, which collects 15 issues of the series Sheltered, also through Image Comics, written by Ed Brisson, art by Johnny Christmas. And this series has come out quite a while ago now. This is definitely an older series. I'm just trying to look up the date for you guys here. This was like around the time when the Image boom, so to speak, like when like Saga and everything was starting up and everyone started reading Image titles years ago. 2013, yeah. So at that point, Ed Brisson was kind of, I guess, newer to the writing game. I mean, I think he was mostly known as a letterer prior to then, so much so that he actually lettered these comics of this series, Sheltered. And I wasn't really aware of him, but I did hear of this book, and I thought it was an interesting concept. And it's essentially like about a group of people, that men and women who have basically been preparing for end of the world scenarios for years, and as a result, they live, on their own land, like territory, like within bunkers. And then they have their underground pits, and kind of off on like a reserve or a commune or something, so to speak, like something like that. And yeah, they've been sitting there stockpiling weapons and food and training, and basically just getting ready for the end of the world scenario. Like, people like this, right? Like, or you've heard of people like these, like, type of people, and like basically these survivalists that kind of go off the rails, whether or not the fact of the matter is that this shit is true, or they just think it to be, in their heads. So they're kind of trying to make their way through the world by doing what they think's right for, likewise people that they that also believe in this. So so then it quickly turns within the first couple of issues, and this is the basic premise of the series. So actually, I think it's even within the first end of the first issue. That's how crazy this series is. And so don't think I'm spoiling something big for you guys. The kids basically take over. Their children that are with them there, they feel that because of the impending situation of what the main ringleader of these kids claims, is that there's going to be a volcano that's going to erupt and basically wipe all of them out in that territory, that there's not going to be enough food and shelter and things for them for he's planning for 3 years that they would be okay with the rations that they have. But the way they are currently going, he convinces everyone, like basically brainwashes the other kids in like some sort of a Lord of the Flies type scenario, as it turns out to be, as the story goes on, that they have to kill their parents. So the kids turn around, all the kids that live in this place, and kill them. Like they kill their parents. And then all of a sudden there's a couple people that don't necessarily agree, that were kind of left out of the planning of this, while the main kid, I guess the oldest one, teenager, maybe teenager going on young adult, kind of almost at his 20s, I would say, in this story. I don't know if they mention his exact age, but that's the sense you get, like he's 18, maybe 19. And then the rest of them are, all like range from like, I don't know, 10 to 12, 14, 16, like around there. No real young kids, but they're all kids around that age. And he convinces them all to kill their parents, and then they basically take over and start trying to keep the rest of them out of harm's way, and convince everyone that they got to go underground and into their bunkers, and this is going to be now their way of life. But then quickly things unravel and become difficult for them, and then people find out that this is what's happening. Somebody these 3 guys, they go to deliver some solar panels to these guys, because there was already a delivery that was prearranged prior to them killing their parents that they were not aware of. So these guys go up and they kind of don't know what the fuck's going on as they walk into this situation, seeing that the kids are basically, you know, walking around with guns and things are awry. So then they end up killing two of those guys, and then one of them tries to make his escape and make his way back to his family. And as a result, like, he's kind of cornered with some of these kids, and he ends up killing a couple of kids. And there's that whole mentality that's really fucked up, because the kids are the ones that are trying to kill other people and defend themselves from something we don't even know. It's almost like a cultish kind of situation where this guy, the ringleader, basically convinced all these other guys to not only kill their parents and believe in this impending doom that he thinks is going to come down on them, but then at the same time, like, there's a whole mentality about how messed up it is to have to kill these kids in defense of yourself. So, like, this guy, like, doesn't want to. He's like, oh my god, these guys are only kids, but, like, they're trying to kill me, and I have kids, and I have a family, and I need to get home to my family. So then he's kind of faced with that moral dilemma. And then you get, you know, the stuff all from the kids' perspectives, and there's like some, you know, there's some kids that don't necessarily agree with what's going on within the group that's trying to oppose, like, the ringleader. And meanwhile, the ringleader, the one girl that's really against him and his beliefs, is the sister of some guy that's basically his right-hand man, the main dude. So yeah, so it just kind of goes off from there, and it's an awesome ending to the series. Very nice twist at the end. Not only that, you get some great, you know, character development as you get to know these kids, and the Johnny Christmas art is good. I like his stuff. You may know him. He did some stuff through Dark Horse very recently with Margaret Atwood this past couple of years. This Angel Catbird book. I never really picked them up or read them myself. I wasn't very interested, but, you know, it's with Margaret Atwood, so I'm sure that it had a success, right? You know, she's mostly known for prose, Canadian writer, so she. I'm sure a lot of people checked that out just based on her, so it was a good gig for him. But Ed Brisson has evolved as a writer as well. I really like his stuff, but he always has this really all of his, like, indie books, mostly he's done through Image, are really these dark, fucked up ideas and more crime related stories most of the time. But, like, this is a very interesting concept for a series, and, like, you know, 15 issues of this, 3 trade paperbacks was a great size for it as well. Like, there's no need for the series to be larger than it is for this type of story. You know, obviously this wasn't going to go on forever, this type of tale. And I love the cover as well. It says Sheltered, a pre-apocalyptic tale. In a world where there's so many, you know, post-apocalyptic type stories, this is one where they're fearing the apocalypse or what is going to happen to them. So things just go off the rails in that regard in this story. So yeah, definitely check this out. I really enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, you can tell Ed Brisson has improved as a writer. I mean, maybe more things he could have taken advantage of or touched on in this story. I wouldn't necessarily call them plot holes, but just missed opportunities, I would say. I don't think it was badly written whatsoever, but I think that there is some things he could have expounded upon if he was going to make this series maybe even a little bit longer. But like I said, I thought this was the perfect amount of time to tell this story he did. I think it's just he's very, you could say he was probably a little green or earlier in his writing career at this point. So I can just tell, as continuing to have been a fan of his and reading a lot of the things he's written, that he has definitely gotten better. But this is still really good. And I read the first volume of this and bought the other 2 volumes and had them sitting on my shelf for a long time. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to catch up on some of these things I got lying around here. And yeah, this show helps make it possible for me to talk about them. So yeah, definitely check out Sheltered. And the first volume is $9.99 retail U.S. price. So if you can find even a sale on that, or even on its own for the first 5 issues, $10 trade from Image, you can't go wrong with that, right, guys? So, and like I said, only 3 volumes, so very easy to kind of pick this whole thing up. Definitely check it out, Sheltered, great series. All right, so that does it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed once again, and I will talk to you guys next week. Take care.